Casey, welcome to the show.
Man, it is good to be here with a fellow Wahoo on this beautiful fall morning.
I know, man. Wahoo wah. Let's dive in. So, you're a Super Bowl champion. You're CEO of a major mortgage company. We tend to look from the outside in. We're like, man, things must have been easy for Casey, man. It's like everything just kind of worked out for him. Things weren't always so easy, right? Tell us a little bit about your backstory.
Yeah, no, things were not always easy, but that said, I do feel like in many ways, my parents and my upbringing and a lot of things gave me a lot of early success in life, and did I think pave the way for a lot of opportunities that I was able to take advantage of kind of throughout my life. I have a great mom and dad who I think as you get older you appreciate that more and more as you meet folks, and I had a father who was my football coach, who's still my best friend. He was my best man at my wedding, and he's the best man I know. He's the best man I know. And from a really early age, I was gifted with a mentor and a model of what it looks like to be a loving, caring father, a really committed husband, and a hardworking man. My dad owned a True Value hardware store in D.C. And when I was growing up, this is the 80s and 90s. So DC was the crack epidemic was in full swing, and DC was um, the epicenter really of the violence associated with that. And we were in the heart of DC. We were in Southeast, which was the roughest part of DC. So DC was the murder capital of the
Wow.
world. And we had a little teeny True Value hardware store there that my dad worked at 6 days a week. He was out of the house every day at 5 o'clock. Would drive into work, and I went to work with him a ton. And so each and every day I started to learn, what it means to kind of wake up. And I don't think he ever woke up loving his job. I think we think a lot about purpose and meaning in life and all this kind of stuff. Now we look for careers that align with that. I don't think that hardware store was those things for my father. What that hardware store meant for my father was it provided for his family that he cared about. And I never heard him complain. Never heard him, begrudge that early morning wake up, that hour drive, and that those long 13-hour days that he put in every single day just to put a roof over my head and feed our family. And again, man, that gift of seeing a person in your life that each and every day was loving you sacrificially and was putting you first and was having that hard, consistent work put in was a really gift. It was a huge gift. And I looked at that and kind of took that in as a kid. And I was just a big, gigantic human being. I was 6'5", 230 pounds when I was in high school. And when you're that big, you angle towards athletics. And so I played basketball and football and baseball, and was fortunate enough to go to the University of Virginia, where we crossed paths during that time. I know your athletic background and journey was an exciting one at UVA also. And that was a really, really neat time, and got to have a lot of success, and yet again meet some other great models of success. Coach George Welsh was an amazing coach, and again, kind of I think modeled a lot of that perseverance through adversity and a hard focus on who you are, what you do. And again, I got to absorb a lot of leadership lessons from him. But no, the journey wasn't straight up from there. I had 4 injuries in college, and went from Mel Kiper had me rated as the first tight end overall in the draft in my junior year. I had a sports hernia surgery the week before my senior year, opening week of my senior year, and I was the first football player to ever have that surgery. So they said, we're going to give you this surgery. We had a hockey player. It took him like 6 weeks to come back, but you're a football player, right? So you're tough and you're already big and strong. And 3 to 4 weeks, we think you'll be back on the field. Now they know that's a year. That's a year recovery kind of surgery. At the time, that was going to be 3 to 4 weeks. I'd be in the 4th game. And so I came back, I think, in the 6th or 7th game of the season, because I, like so many athletes, wanted to be a good kid, wanted to be hardworking, wanted to suck it up and tough through. And I just wasn't the same. I really couldn't run, couldn't make right turns. And I ended up doing some more damage, kind of my pelvic ball and things, and was going to be done with football. At that point, I was done with football. I had 4 surgeries, through my UVA career. And I said, I'd gone from, again, Kuiper having as the first tight end to be taken to off the board, not going to play, not going to be taken. And I got into, I was going to get into, at the time, everything.com was blowing up. And so I was going to do a startup in 2000 in a .com, do a little internet startup. And all on the same day, I had 3 people. My wife was a UVA field hockey player, was my fiance at the time. And I woke up that morning, and Michelle and I were having lunch, and she looked at me, she goes, "Yeah, sweetie, are you sure you don't want to keep playing football? You've been really good at the time, and I mean, this is a really limited window where you can play in the NFL. If you're going to do it, now would be the time. I said, it's funny. I was thinking about that too, and my body's starting to feel a little better. So I don't know, maybe I will. And then my agents called, and they called me and said, "Hey, Casey, if you're going to play, this is the combine weekend, and we're going to need to know by Friday, today. And we just think, man, you should just throw your hat in the ring, just in case in 3 months you want to play." I said, "Oh, I don't know. Okay, I'll think about it." And by that afternoon, a third friend of mine came to me and goes, Casey, I was thinking about this internet thing. Like, I mean, this isn't going anywhere. It's going to be here, but like this limited window to play football is, if you don't decide, to play, it's going to be over and you're going to miss it. And I've always been kind of a person of faith, and man, I started praying through this, and I just felt like God was leading me to go play football. So, man, I've gifted, equipped you in this way, and I said, but I'm all beat up and broken. But everyone in my life, coming the same day, was challenging me to go play. So it was fantastic. All right, I'm going to go play football. And so I signed up for the draft, and the agent's like, hey, you'll still go in the mid rounds, third or fourth round, whatever. And it's not the first round like maybe you'd hope for a couple years ago, but it's great, man. You'll give a good team, good start in life. And Jim, I sat there, and it's a pretty lonely feeling. You're watching the draft go on, and your whole family's gathered around you. All the hopes and dreams. Everybody's, oh man, first guy in the family's gonna play pro sports. And first couple rounds go by, I wasn't expecting anything. Third and fourth round go by, phone rings a couple times. Guys call me and say, hey, how are you feeling? How's your body? I said, okay, good. Somebody's about to pick me up. Fifth, sixth round go by, nobody calls. Seventh round comes up, and I'm calling my agents at this point, going, who is going to pick me? What's going on? I said, no problem. You're definitely getting picked up in this round. And people start kind of consoling you. And seventh round goes by, and no one calls, no one signs me. And then, as only a football agent can do, they turn the script around and go, Casey, it's a good thing not to be drafted. It's a good thing. I said, how is this a good thing? How is this a good thing? He said, now we get to pick the team that we want to go. They don't get to pick you. We get to pick who we want to go play for. We'll sign a free agent contract. And only an agent can spin it that way. It is not a good thing to go from being the first tight end on the board to
An
not
agent
being
and a parent, maybe a parent can do that too.
your parents. Yeah, no, my parents were I think a little disappointed alongside me. They were it was I was looking at my fiance Michelle, who's my wife now of 20 years, and she was going to go to law school, and her father had given me the car payment. We had picked out an apartment. I was going to have a mortgage payment and law school tuition. Staring me in the face, and I had a $2,500 free agent contract, basically a plane ticket down to Carolina to play for the Carolina Panthers. And I was really upset with God, really upset with God. So I prayed, and I thought you were calling me to go do this, and I was really sure about that. And then all these three people, encouraged me, and that was really good confirmation for me. I thought I was supposed to go play football, and this is terrible. Now no one has even chosen me. Like this is awful, and I'm just so upset. But I again, just kind of always haven't been a person of faith. There had been this one little Bible verse that really encouraged me. It was Philippians 4:13. You can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. And I really felt like God said, man, do you trust me or not? Are you going to keep going or not? And I said, well, I guess I do, but I do not like this situation at all, because it's embarrassing and it's terrible. And it's every way in which you can fail. And I felt like a failure. I felt like just that, especially as an engaged, soon to be husband. I'm about to fail my wife, and even being able to make our car payment, a payment for a Honda Civic I couldn't make. Had to borrow money for her ring from my mom and dad. And I got down to Carolina, and I was the fifth tight end on the depth chart. And they had never kept more than three. And I called my agents immediately. I said, this is what we chose. You gave me this whole piece about we're choosing our team. This is what we chose. I'm the fifth guy. They've never kept more than three. First guy is Wesley Walls, who'd been 5-time All-Pro. Second guy, they'd just given $1 million signing bonus to, Chris Mangan, ended up being a great friend. And the third guy was Brian Kinchin. He was our long snapper. And we only had one. And you need to have one on a team. And they'd never kept more than three tight ends. And so I called my, I said, where's the opportunity here? Like, this is now, and then there was another undrafted free agent, and then there was me. That was the depth chart. It was just miserable. And so, we get out there, and I just kept persevering. I think that's been a lot of my story, and something that really resonated with me was, your failure through success. I never viewed it as failure. Failure to me has a very final kind of connotation to it, but I think I definitely know what you meant, Jim, on your journey, and what you've seen in others' journey, is that there has to be a commitment to perseverance through adversity. There has to be, and there's going to be setbacks along the way, and there's going to be times where it looks bleak, where it feels bleak, where it is bleak, where the odds are stacked against you. And so often it's a continued perseverance in and through adversity, and not looking at whatever setback it is as an ultimate failure, but just looking at it as what it is, a momentary time of adversity that's actually building in you character that's going to serve you so well in years to come. I didn't have that mature perspective at 22, but I did have a commitment, and I did have a model from my father of what it looked like to continue to get up and go to work each and every day, whether or not you liked it, whether you loved it, whether you enjoyed it, because it had a purpose, which was caring for those around you. And I had a purpose with a new wife, and this new commitment to football. So I played in the very first game. I was they were making cuts the day after the first game, and so I knew I had to do something special. So the first game, and I had an injury riddled college career. I would just gotten back to healthy enough, and so I said, okay, man, please God, let me do something fine here in this first game. And the first game, opening kickoff, run back, and I'm on the wedge. Right, and the wedge, for folks that don't follow football, is now outlawed, by the way, thankfully so, but is essentially just a human sacrifice. I mean, this is just, you run backwards 30 yards and hold hands with some good friend of yours, turn around and run forward 10 yards into other gigantic human beings who've gotten a 50-yard head of steam, and you meet, and just an explosion of human bodies occurs. And then after the melee, they tackle somebody. And so, they put the guys on the wedge, or all the free agents like me, because they really don't want the real players to get hurt. So they use kind of human cannon fodder of the free agents.
Sacrifice guys like you.
I mean, yes, we are sacrificing the altar of special teams. And I ran down and hit this little linebacker from Jacksonville. I hit him as hard as I possibly could. And when I did, everything went black. I mean, just everything went black. And I kind of, shook the cobwebs off and opened my eyes back up, and drove my feet for a few moments and pushed them, and the whistles blew and everything. And I looked down on my jersey, and I had a white jersey, and I looked down, and it's just covered in blood, just this huge red blood circle on this white jersey. And in the ultimate arrogance of football players, I shoved them, and punk bleeding all over me. And I really thought I had hit him so hard that he had just started spontaneously bleeding all over my jersey. And he smiled and shook his head. About that time, I started to feel my nose. I jogged over the sidelines, and the trainer's looking at me, goes, "Crawford, you're out." My chin strap had busted. Both ear snaps had snapped off. The helmet had come down and smashed the bridge of my nose and broken my nose and blown it up all over my white jersey. First play, first NFL game, preseason. But I'm trying to make this team. And the thing is, you're out, get out.
Welcome to the NFL.
Yeah. Welcome to the NFL, and welcome to everything financially going down. I'm about to get fired with a broken nose. I'm not going to pay any bills. They're going to cut me tomorrow. I mean, it's horrible. And I looked at him and said, man, you don't understand. I can't go out. They're making cuts tomorrow. I'm the 5th tight end on the roster. I'm gone. You got to let me play. And so, he shoved some gauze up my nose and, gave me a visor, face mask, and things. And I remember sitting in the locker room, and I was supposed to start the second half, and I just kept praying that prayer. I was like, God, man, you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. I said, man, I just got to keep showing up. Just got to keep showing up. And so I went out in the second half. And literally, I was already kind of one-legged from the year before. I couldn't outrun anybody on the field. I had a broken nose, a big visor, not great hands to begin with. But every route I ran, it was like everybody just fell down, and I'd be wide open. And Damian Craig hit me for 5 passes and a touchdown, a 2-point conversion. And literally somehow miraculously, I finished the game. I ended up being the player of the game, and I had 100 yards receiving and all this kind of stuff. And it was simply by showing up. And I kind of joked at the end of the game that Damian had just seen that red blood and had been like a target. And I said, sometimes that adversity becomes a gift, right? And you don't know what it is, man, that really becomes a gift to help you get where you're going. But it was a matter of simply showing up. And then just through that preseason, I'd sprained my MCL the next week. I tore my ankle up the following week, and just kept showing up. Just kept showing up. And again, by the end of this preseason, I was, I was one of the top, leading receivers in the NFL in the preseason, right? Just because of just being out there and getting a bunch of balls thrown to me. I ended up making the team. And I look back, and I just was so amazed at kind of what I felt like God had done in and through that, in not in the crazy success I had, not really in the making of the team, but in I think the building of that muscle of faith in the midst of adversity and perseverance in and through adversity when the odds don't look good. And it was simply a matter of continuing to do all that I could with what I had left. And I can tell you what I had left did not feel sufficient for the challenge at hand. I couldn't run. I already wasn't that fast to begin with. And then I was on one leg, and then I sprained my only good leg, the MCL of my only good leg, and then I re-sprained an ankle I had torn up the year before, and I was playing with the biggest, fastest guys in the world. And my wife's law school tuition, our mortgage payment, and her Civic were on the line. And it was just a great lesson, Jim, for me in like what it meant to walk in and through adversity, and one that carried with me my whole life. And my father always told me that football was going to end for me probably pretty early in life. If you play for a really long time, you're done at 30. But the lessons that football taught me from a character perspective were going to carry with me the rest of my life, and that was the real gift of the game. And man, I've just found that to be so true through the rest of my journey.
And for the listeners, I want you to think about, like, Casey just shared a story with us that is entertaining, and for us, sitting here in our comfortable chairs or doing whatever you're doing, listening to this episode. But this was real for him. There was real pain. There was real self-doubt. There was real struggle, financial and otherwise. And he lived this. I mean, this is, we look at people who achieve success and we go, maybe things were a little bit easier for them. But as you can see and as you can hear, it's not. There's a grind. There's a hustle that has to happen. There's a faith that has to happen. There's a persistence that has to happen to get there. So, Casey, fast forward a little bit, and
Yep.
you get to the ultimate of football.
Yep.
You get to be on a team that wins the Super Bowl championship.
Yeah.
You get to hoist the Lombardi Trophy.
Yep.
What was that like?
It was all those things you'd imagine for me. It was a dream come true because I like so many other little boys that played football. I dreamed of being in a Super Bowl my whole life. I dreamed of all those those kind of moments, and really it's one of the most memorable moments of my life was standing on the podium at the 50-yard line after the Super Bowl. The confetti's raining. Thankfully, my wife Michelle had come out of the game. My mom and dad had been out there at the game. My little sister. And we're all out there. I got them all down on the field, so you can imagine a father who was a football coach to his little boy getting to stand on the field, and I know you had similar experience like with your dad, Jim, and just the power of looking back over that journey, that story together. And then, my wife's from Jersey and Bon Jovi singing "It's My Life" on stage, and I'm Lombardi Trophy with a jersey. And for like a Jersey girl, like getting near Bon Jovi singing it's about as good as I was a husband, like a gift to my wife.
She's like, I married the right guy.
I think she might have thought she married the wrong guy. She should have just held out for Bon Jovi to see, like, if but like second guy, she was maybe standing with, and it was really incredible and magical and powerful, and it was a gift because it was at a really young age too. It was like at 24 years old. I really felt like God gave me a gift at that point of getting to experience all the things that I thought were going to have the ultimate in meaning and purpose to me in my life. Like if you'd asked me what I wanted to accomplish in life, they were kind of wrapped up in that moment. I hadn't had kids yet, but I married like my best friend. I'm with my mom and dad. I remember I had a whole bunch of money in my backpack for my Super Bowl bonus, cash and stuff. I was going to be able to, buy a home, and it was in the NFL, had got a Super Bowl ring. It checked every box that I thought I wanted to check in life, really in that moment. And it was just surreal. Surreal, and you're kind of pinching yourself. And then I remember equally powerful was the next day, because I went to bed and woke up. And when I woke up, Jim, I looked around and I remember thinking, I was like, wow, God, you just given me all the things I thought I wanted in life. Man, athletic success, a loving wife that I'm just, absolutely in love with, and money. I mean, we had financial success that, at the time I thought was just you can't spend as much money as you make as a third-year league minimum NFL player. And we got on the plane to go fly home, and Coach Gruden was the coach of the team that year. And he was just amazing. He was an incredible leader. He taught us incredible leadership principles really all year that I've still benefited from through my business journey. But I remember we got on the plane and we started to take off. And Coach did this really funny thing. He put up his hands. He's like, hey, Jim, how many fingers you got on your hand, big guy? was actually asked Warren Sapp, I think. Warren Sapp. I got 5 fingers, coach. Said, yeah, yeah. Hey, Keyshawn, how many fingers you got? Keyshawn John. I got 5 fingers, coach. Yeah. And coach goes, yeah, I got 5 too, but I only got 1 freaking ring. So let's go back to camp and work on 4 more, baby. And everyone kind of laughed, and and he was, I mean, the guy, he was like a walking one-liner. Just everything you saw on Monday night, except for not as filtered and maybe even more passionate. And it was amazing. I think what he meant in that, man, the joys in the journey, right? Not the destination. It's not about the winning that Super Bowl. The joys in the journey, man. And he loves football, and that was the point, man. He loves what he was doing. But it occurred to me as a 24-year-old who had oriented my entire life around sports and athletics and making money, that what if at 24, man, I'd literally not grab the brass ring, but the Super Bowl ring. And less than an hour after getting all these things, or less than one day, excuse me, after getting all these things that I thought were my ultimate goals in life, I wake up and go, I want more. There's got to be something more. There's got to be something more. And it wasn't going to be one more ring. And I just kind of knew in that moment it wasn't a dollar amount. There wasn't an athletic accomplishment. There wasn't some conquest that I was going to achieve that was going to fill that need for purpose and for more. And I kind of made the decision in that moment on that plane ride home that I really wanted to invest my life not in entertainment, which football is, and it's great. It's great. And listen, I wasn't making a tremendous contribution to the NFL or my team or people's lives in my participation in the NFL. I was the least significant person to ever win a Super Bowl ring, I think. And I said, God, I want to invest my life with purpose, and that purpose needs to be creating impact in the lives of others. And I'd always been a follower of Jesus, and I just kind of appreciate it. He said, hey, love Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Do these 2 things and you do well. And I said, I haven't really done much to love my neighbor. And I said, God, give me an opportunity to love my neighbor as myself. And I left football, decided to leave football and pursue something I was hoping to find more success and more impact and purpose within. And that's what led me into the business world.
How do you go about then starting a mortgage company? How does one even, first of all, think of that? For
Look, you
why? I mean, why that? I mean, you
yeah.
so many people want to make an impact, and it's like maybe through coaching or philanthropy or doing what I do, host a podcast. I'm an executive life coach and get to speak and all. I know I'm making an impact. You start a mortgage company. Why and how? How the heck do you even what's like step one?
Yeah, no, such a good question, and it was not less than when I was little, growing up, I didn't have dreams of banking and finance and opening up a mortgage company by any stretch. I think what happened was, in 2007, 2008, our nation found itself embroiled in the biggest financial recession we had since the Great Depression. And really at the epicenter of that financial meltdown was the mortgage industry itself. We in the mortgage industry caused the biggest economic contraction in the United States, and what happens in the United States reverberates around the world. And I was in Charlotte, North Carolina. They call Charlotte the first city built on banking. So I watched Wachovia go away. Bank of America teeters, gets down to like 50 cents a share, something incredible. People are thinking it's about to go away. All the jobs, all the employment that are associated with those banks in Charlotte were in absolute peril. People were terrified, and it was all fundamentally due to a tremendous amount of greed that was centered in the mortgage industry. And I think, when you find yourselves in these tremendous environments of adversity or hurt and pain, there's also incredible opportunity. There's always incredible opportunity to love and impact lives when people are hurting that pervasively. And so, kind of looked around at the landscape. And it makes a lot of sense now, 12 years later. I can tell you at the time, it was absolute chaos. This is absolutely, when Warren Buffett says, hey, invest when there's blood in the streets. And that's easy to say, really hard to do, because when there's blood in the streets, when there's that much chaos, the smart people are running the other way. It's kind of hard to go running into the fire. And we absolutely, man, I was not that bright, but I absolutely saw an opportunity to reframe the way mortgages were done in the U.S. and go, we actually think the United States is built and is fundamental that the value of individual property rights are going to be maintained and upheld by our federal government. It's really core and foundational to our nation, and that the federal government is going to continue to ensure and really underwrite the credit of individual property rights. And that's kind of what we do through our federal agencies, through Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, but they're going to use the private industry to distribute those credits. And so we stepped into that space and said, there's an opportunity here to write a new story in banking in the U.S. and to redeem the way mortgages have been given, home loans have given, and banking has been done even more broadly, and opened up with really that vision. And there's four of us, right? So I was telling these big speeches, man, we're going to change the way banking's done. Our mission statement is going to be, we exist to love and value people because they've been anything but loved, anything but valued by financial services in America. And we're going to tell a new and better story in regards to how we did that. And again, man, looking back now, that doesn't seem as insane to say those things, but when there's four of us, it just felt daunting and overwhelming and really, really crazy. And I was looking again at my half Cuban, half Italian wife at the time. We had one daughter who was 2, and gosh, my youngest wasn't even born yet. And man, when I say fledgling, I mean we were just teetering on financial ruin. And I was like, hey, I'm going to take all the money that I've made in football and in some real estate things afterwards, and kind of put all chips on the table, go all in on this mortgage endeavor, because we see an opportunity to love, to serve, to help, and to bring some value to people's lives that doesn't exist right now. And it turns out, it was the perfect time to launch, because company after company, mortgage company after mortgage company, bank after bank went out of business. So it's kind of like if we were playing a game and just 90% of the competitors are erased and you're just what's left. And I'd love to say that we were just so good. We entered the market at a really, really good time. And I think there is a lesson there that when you run towards adversity in the lives of others, man, opportunity emerges. I really do believe that, because most people don't run towards those times and places of adversity. And I met a lot of friends along the way who have stories that kind of mirror that. And that was really ours. In the last decade, we've had the privilege of really growing, over 4,000 team members now. And we're doing about 1 out of every 45 home purchases in the U.S.
So you saw what everybody else was seeing, which was an obstacle, but you saw it as an opportunity. And I think that there's a lesson in that as well. I mean, because most people look around their own lives, and maybe they're not trying to change the banking industry, but they're seeing obstacles all around them. I mean, especially in the time that we're living in now, this whole past year, dealing with COVID and all the obstacles that are out there. I mean, you saw an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And that's scary. I mean, people tend to not want to run towards that. I mean, what do you say to the person who's listening to this right now and they have their own vision, right? Maybe it's in a totally different industry. Maybe it's a nonprofit, whatever it is, whatever challenge they're facing in life, whatever obstacle they're facing in their life. What do you say to that person who has that vision? They see a different way. They see a better way, but they see obstacle.
Yeah, so I think the purpose has to be bigger than the obstacle, and if the purpose is about you, it usually is not going to be. We'll give up on ourselves so much faster than we'll give up on someone else, and that's one thing I so respect about wrestlers and individual athletes, because you all actually built up a muscle to persevere in incredible adversity, really in individual sports. But when you look at like the Navy SEALs, and you've done some great shows with Navy SEALs and other folks, you think about the buddy system during BUDS, or you think about that team element, and that you will go further for others than you'll ever go for yourselves. And so if you have a purpose that's about serving others, you'll always go further. You'll always push through more. You'll always deal with more adversity than you will if you're the only ends to your effort. And I think whether we're talking about the financial recession in 08, or we're talking about more recently COVID, this year we were faced with that same kind of challenge. The mortgage industry almost blew up, and the federal government came and said, hey, our nation, our world is being deeply impacted by this horrible pandemic, and folks are losing jobs at rates we haven't seen since the Great Depression, right? And we need to extend credit to Americans. One of the primary ways they were going to do that was actually by lowering the cost of home ownership. It's one of the ways the federal government infuses credit and actually provides economic relief to Americans. Their only go-to-market method to do that is the private mortgage industry. That's it. We are game plan number one and only. And so in the middle of the pandemic, we had to rally our team to say, hey, I know you're suffering. We've lost a few team members to COVID. We have a number of team members, in ICU, and almost everyone's had some extended family member they've lost to COVID. People are suffering. People are hurting. I said, in the midst of this suffering, in the midst of this hurting, our nation's never needed us more. And they're calling on us. And really, our neighbors' hope, our community's hope, is that we're going to be able to lower the cost of their houses and help them buy houses at prices that they've never imagined. And then we're our only federal government's method to deliver this credit they want to give to Americans. We've got to step up and do more than we've ever done. And that's why I was so proud of our team in the middle of COVID, working from home. We'll fund twice as many loans we've ever funded in company history this year, doing it from home. And I think it's because, our team members see a deep and profound purpose in what they do, that they know that their efforts are actually benefiting their friends, their families, and the communities that they're a part of, by lowering their cost of credit. So it gave them a reason to do 9 hours of Zoom calls a day from their kids' bedroom with, I got stuffed animals over here. This is all facade, this background here. I got, kids' toys and animals. I built a house and didn't even imagine a
It
home.
looks so formal, looks so legit.
I know, and it's all facade. It's like it's everything. It's just a mirage. Right? Stuffed in. We got kids' toys. And I think it's a lot of folks, right? We're making do. You're
Yeah.
adapting and overcoming the adversity that you face. And that's certainly been our story this year. And then when you do that, man, tremendous success follows. When you bring value to lives of others, success follows.
And Casey, I think it's so fascinating how you have not just talked the talk, you've walked this out, man. You've started a charter school, and I think, are you guys working on another one?
Yeah, we have four now. Yeah, we
4,
have
okay.
four
So
now.
tell us
Yeah,
why do this? I mean, you're in business, to make money. That's what people think is like the sole purpose of business is to make money and make the investors money and all the stakeholders. But you see it as so much bigger than that, and you've invested millions,
yeah.
tens of millions of dollars into, in Africa and here in the States. And tell us about that.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. It's been a joy. So yeah, when your purpose, you kind of box yourself in. When you start a company, you say your mission statement is to love and value people by being a movement of change in our industry, in corporate culture, and in communities across America. And so once you write that as a mission statement, you kind of put it out to the world, and the world's going to hold you accountable. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing when you have a mission statement that's worth living into. And so, he said, if we serve our customers well, we serve our teammates well, hopefully as a business, I think you're right, businesses need to make a profit. And if we're able to make a profit, how do we take care? How do we steward that profit? How do we invest that profit in a way that encourages and brings value to these communities that we're a part of? Because historically, that the mortgage industry has not been known for that. We've been known for what we've taken from communities and how we've broken them down, not how we've built them up. And so we looked at our communities and said, if we're going to love anyone, let's think about loving the most marginalized. But let's not do something for someone that hey, they're going to get a mortgage with us anyway, and it's some kind of biz dev effort. Let's actually try to love the most marginalized. As we looked at the marginalized, it was the poor. It was the folks that had the least economic resources. And then if we took that subset and went even more narrow, said, okay, but among the poor, because that's still a really big group. And we're kind of a small organization. I definitely believe in like a hard focus, like being very narrow in what you do and going very deep in what you do. So if we're going to look at a smaller subset, we want to say we want to serve children. We want to serve the poorest children in the communities that we're a part of. They're the most marginalized. They're the most helpless, and frankly, they're the ones that are the least able to patronize us in any way, shape, or form. So let's do all that we can to help them. And as we looked at the ways that we could invest to change the trajectory of the lives of the most marginalized children in our communities, we were led to schools. I think schools are one of the most powerful institutions in America to shape and change the trajectory of a young life. So, if we have a child in school, we get to pour into that kid from the time they are 5 years old to the time they're 17. It's 12 years. We run our school 365 days a year, not 365. We run our schools all year long, 5 days a week. We have before and after school programs. And we with that kind of time, energy investment, I think we can change the trajectory of that child's life. In Charlotte, North Carolina, if you're born into poverty, it's the lowest likelihood of the 30 largest cities in America that you will change that outcome in your lifetime. So if you're born in poverty in Charlotte, the overwhelming chances are you will die in poverty. You will not break that cycle in your lifetime. Hmm. And our goal is to provide a transformational on ramp for children that are born into deep poverty in Charlotte, to be equipped with values, character, grit, an ability to overcome failure in their life, have success even through failure. Understand they were born into adversity. They were born into it. And, we want them to understand that by the time they're 17 years old, they've been equipped with a character that's been forged through adversity that most people can't even understand. And that's a gift. That'll be a gift too. And while the poverty is a sincere challenge, and we don't ever want to mitigate that, the character that they are able to form in and through walking through that adversity is a gift that they'll take into the workplace or into colleges that actually helps them succeed in ways maybe that others can't. So we began to, we bought public charters, our not for profit. We're actually, uh, by the time that this airs, we just made another $100 million investment into our foundation to do public charters for the most marginalized kids in communities that we're a part of. And it is something we're incredibly excited about. The education space in America is one that is ripe for innovation. Haven't changed a whole lot in the last, in a number of decades. And we think there's a tremendous opportunity to apply technology and really some character values based training for our children to really help them change their experience in public education.
Incredible. Casey, you've done a lot in your young life. I'm 44. I think you're what, a year younger than me. You're
Yeah,
43
we're
maybe.
right
Is that
there.
right?
I'm on your heels.
Yeah, you're right there. So you have achieved so much at this point in your career. I want to get granular here. Like, what do you do, like, day to day? What kind of habits have you done throughout your life, or maybe just in recent years? But what have you done, maybe since football, that has allowed you to achieve great things? Maybe something that you do on a regular basis, habits, tactics, that sort of thing.
Well, I know you're a huge fan of habits. I am as well. Um, one of the most powerful concepts in my life is that consistency compounds. I mean, consistency. I just see it play out in so many different areas of my life. Consistency compounds. Einstein, right, said, "Hey, the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. Those that understand it benefit from it. Those that don't pay it." And I mean, I believe that plays out in so many areas. So habits to me are huge. A couple that I practice regularly. Some folks wake up with meditation, different things. I wake up with a time of prayer. Kind of getting into. I read my Bible and pray. Each morning. Not super long, not like hours, 20 minutes. And I work out every day at noon. And I'm no animal. You've had guys on here that goodness gracious, their warm ups would end me. But I do try to stay consistent. With
Michelle's warm ups probably end you,
Michelle
right?
is
I mean, Michelle
wonderful. Yeah,
is
my wife
an elite
Michelle is wonderful.
CrossFitter.
She's I think been to the World Games 6 times, and she's on a different
Yeah.
level and planet. But that's another good thing there too, right? You try to run with people who are better than you are at what you want to be good at, and she certainly pulls me in the direction that I want to go from a fitness perspective. But yeah, every day at lunch, and I got accountability partners. Man, I show up, and I got 3 friends now during COVID that we've all kind of been quarantining and together, and we work out every day, 45 minutes, and whether I feel like it or not, they're going to be there. They're going to be texting me. I show up, and we grind it out, and that there's just so many benefits to I think that layered exercise of consistent habits that build over time. And then something else will wake up every day and go, man, how can I bring value to my team? How can I add value to my team's life? And every single day thinking about how I can add value to the lives of others and those people around me, I think is been one of the most powerful compounding habits that I've seen over time. And just the number of people you're able to
So
impact.
you're not thinking of yourself first. You're thinking of your team. You're thinking of others, and this is like a conscious thing that goes on through your mind.
Absolutely. Again, I'll give up on myself. I'll fail on myself. I'll find a million reasons not to pour into myself. But man, when I wake up thinking about my wife, my girls, and my team, um, man, they're always worthy of a really good time, energy investment. And again, I think I was really blessed to have a mom and dad who modeled that out for me. I'm so thankful now to look back at the ways my parents each and every day poured into me and my little sister. And I realize what a gift that is now. I realize that so many folks didn't have that growing up. I took it for granted as a kid. And I said, I want to give that same gift to my wife, my girls, and then my team and more broadly from there. So yeah, I am a
Yeah.
huge, huge fan. as you say, of habits. I don't think I mean, you can't pick 1,000 of them right, and you got to figure out the ones that are right for you. And there's an art in there. It's not a science. Don't go knock off Elon Musk's habits. Don't knock off Jim Harshaw's or mine necessarily. I mean, you got to figure out those things that work in the rhythm of your life that are important to you. But man, there should be two or three. If you can't think of two or three things that you're doing each and every single day, um, I, 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 I haven't met many folks who have really been able to achieve a whole lot without really harnessing this power of compounding consistency, and that compounding consistency being manifested in the form of habits.
Casey, for the listener who's sitting there saying, "Okay, I get it," he or she is saying, "I get it. I understand. This is a mindset that I want to buy into, whether it's around being
Mm,
consistency or habits or living for a purpose that's much bigger than you, and kind of living their life in ways that you live your life. Not the same, of course, because everybody's unique.
mm.
But what kind of action items might you recommend? Something that somebody can do in the next 24 to 48 hours. Maybe it's one thing, maybe it's two or three things, but any sort of practical, tactical action items that the listener can take away?
I think that the thoughtful listener will take and think through how to use these general principles, Jim, that you've applied to your life, that I've applied to mine, and they'll apply it to their own business, their own life, their own challenge, whatever that may be. And a really great example of that for me is a good friend of mine who owns a restaurant here in town. And he and I were having this conversation about how do you wake up every day and bring value to the lives of people around you? Bring value to their life. Like, how do you do that? COVID hits. COVID hits, right? Restaurants, COVID. That's his livelihood. He's been a fabulously successful restaurateur, owns a number of restaurants. Everyone loves him in town. COVID hits, and he's laying off friends. I mean, suddenly a wait staff is not any. And I said, Stress, how did you think about this, man? How did you think about this? Like, what did you do? And he said, I sat back and I thought, he goes, what can I do right now to bring value to lots of people? Like, how do I bring value to my community? And so, I was thinking about it, and during COVID, what were people lacking? Well, they're lacking community. Because, they're lacking entertainment. People are getting really, just bored and sick of getting stuck in their apartments and little things. And I drove by his restaurant. We were trying to support him and pick up carry out. And I came out there one evening, and he had a full band and 200 people in the parking lot. And he said, how'd you come up with this, man? Because I just was thinking about how I can bring value to the lives of people in our community. I said, man, they need some fun. They need some entertainment. And if I'm entertaining them, they're having a good time. Maybe they buy a little bit of food. Maybe they buy a little bit of food. And sure enough, it started to grow and grow and grow and became this incredible thing that, like, the whole parking lot is filled with people sitting in their car, sitting in their trunk, sitting in the bed of the pickup truck, listening to live music, socially distanced in a safe way, and his whole family's running food out to cars and serving people and serving them, and they were able to navigate. And I was able to go have dinner there the other night to his restaurant. I said, how are you doing? They said it was really because of the live music, and that really came because I woke up and said, what can I do to bring value to the lives of people around me right now in the middle of a pandemic? And I think, listeners, if anyone listening to this wakes up each and every day thinking about how is it that I can bring value to the lives of people around me, and the more value that you bring, the more they'll pay you for that value. Like, there's an economic equivalent to this. And for those folks that are interested in business, some folks it's not for profit, and then that's fantastic too. Think about how you can bring the most value to the individuals you want to serve, so you can transform their lives. Do that each and every day, and then watch.
Yeah, yeah, and when you do that, whether you're trying to make more money or you're in business, you're an entrepreneur, or you work and you're an employee somewhere, like people root for you. People want to help you. People root for the person who gives and who serves and who cares. And Casey, it's interesting that you had that conversation with your friend, because at the beginning of COVID, I started losing business like crazy. I had a couple clients who just were on the fence about coming on board, and they didn't. I lost a bunch of speaking gigs. I'm like, man, I started getting anxious. Like, I remember one morning literally going, like,
Yeah.
I was like, hadn't eaten right in a few days. I'm like, I don't know what this feeling is. 'Cause I'm not like, I don't tend to be an anxiety. I don't have a lot of anxiety. I just haven't experienced that much in my life. And
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I hadn't eaten right in a few days. I'm like, I think, I think this is anxiety. I'm like, huh, no, like, can I talk to you about that? I think I'm feeling anxiety. She's a licensed therapist, so she knows. She's like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
anxiety. And, but the question I asked myself,
Exactly.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's good to have. She's like she's a family, child, and marriage counselor, so she's perfect for me. And, but I asked myself, I said, like, how am I uniquely qualified to serve? Like, what is needed right now, and how am I uniquely qualified to serve? And that led me down a totally different path that I was initially going down. And not to get into the weeds, but it was these virtual talks and some different ways
Wow.
that I can serve the
Yeah.
community and serve the world. And it's been an inflection point in my business, and that's great. But it starts from serving. It
Yeah.
starts from your heart. It starts from who you are and how you can give to the world. And everybody is uniquely qualified to serve. And for the listener, go back and listen to my interview with Matt Bradford. No legs, no vision, no problem. This guy had his legs blown off and he went blind when he stepped on an IED in Iraq. This guy wanted to die. He wanted to end his life until he finally said, how am I uniquely qualified to serve? And that changed everything. And this guy's out there changing the world. And so think about how you, the
Yes.
listener, are uniquely your story is different. Your situation, your scenario is different. You are uniquely qualified to serve in this world. And I urge you to hit the pause button on your life, step off the treadmill of life for a second, and actually ask yourself that question. And man, those obstacles that you're looking at around you, like some of them you won't even see. You'll just see right through them because there'll be opportunities for you to serve. So I encourage you to take action on what Casey shared here, because this is a mind. There's tactics here, but this is a mindset, and this is a way to embrace the world. And Casey is just absolutely, you're changing the world, man. This is so cool to hear your story shared on this podcast, Casey. I appreciate you for making the time for this. Can you share with the listener
Oh
how
yeah.
they can find you, follow you, et cetera? And by the way, for the listener, if you're saying like, I don't want to follow the CEO of some mortgage company, I got another mortgage company, whatever, like you got to follow Casey. I mean, this guy is so inspiring. And if you want to learn how you can live this stuff out in the world and whatever your scenario is, follow him on social media. So, Casey, where can everybody follow you and find you?
Yeah, no, thanks. I mean, yeah, Instagram's Casey Crawford on Instagram, and we try to share. This has been a really neat journey for us, and so we love to share what we're learning, and we love to share how we're doing it because it's been Jim. It's been so much fun, and there's so much purpose behind it for us. And so I come alive when I see other folks coming alive with their lives, and when they start to like just really enjoy their life and find purpose in their life, and that's been for me a lot of the joy in this journey is doing it with other men and women who are kind of coming awake and alive like I did to go, man, there's something bigger, there's something better. I mean, I'm going to invest my life with purpose, and that purpose is going to be about bringing value to the lives of others. And that has been a really, really neat one from education now in healthcare and banking. A ton of fun to wake up to every day. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you for what you're doing. And man, if you're listening to this, you're already somebody who invests in yourself and knows you need to be poured in and filled up to be able to pour yourself out to others. So I just encourage you, man, don't be a reservoir, be a river, right? Get filled up and pour it right back out. Pour it right back out. Jim brings some
Mm.
amazing teachings, amazing lessons that have been hard earned, from life. You didn't have to get body slammed. Jim will tell you what it feels like and what it means to like work through the adversity, some of those challenges. And I just say, absorb and take them up and apply them to your life and get busy applying them.
Excellent. Casey, thanks for making time to go on the show.
Yeah, no, my pleasure.